Good evening, good to see you again. Please have a seat, make yourself comfortable. Let me just get my notes from last week. How is the drive over here? Okay, yeah, traffic's not too bad right now. You got a good time for your sessions. Okay, well, so we had our first appointment last week, so I just wanted to start off today by asking how you felt afterwards. How was that for you? Okay. Okay. So there were a lot of thoughts running through your mind. I would say that that's a fairly common experience after a first and quite intense session. Anything else? Okay. Okay, well, that's really good to hear that you did feel a sense of relief as well. Okay. Now, at the end of our session last week, I gave you 2 basic strategies for you to, just try out during the week, experiment with a little bit. We talked about either trying to calm yourself through breathing exercises, and we discussed, redirecting your anger through exercise or through movement. Did you manage to give one or both of these a try? Okay. Okay, that's great. And can you tell me more about how that went for you? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I understand that you found the breathing exercises quite difficult to do. Did you use the app that I recommended, or the counting method that I demonstrated? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I understand. Yes. Now, I do want to say that this doesn't mean that we should just cross off breathing exercises just altogether. It's quite an important coping strategy when dealing with anger. But, just take in mind that last week was only our first session, and though, I didn't want to send you off into your week with nothing, but it does take quite a bit more time and effort to learn how to effectively implement this tactic. Okay? So don't write it off just yet, but we'll maybe work up to did you find that redirecting your anger was a more effective approach for you? Okay. Okay. So, okay. Yeah, that's definitely something to take on board. Yeah. Great. Can you tell me a bit more about the situation or the situations and exactly what you did, how you tried to redirect your anger? Mm-hmm. Okay. 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 And how did you feel afterwards? Okay, so you did feel, yeah, somewhat calmer and more in control. Okay. Okay. Well, I think that it's very important to recognize that that is already such an important step in the right direction, and you should definitely consider that a win. So do make sure to give yourself credit for that, okay? Okay. So, though, like I said, we're not going to rule out any other strategies just yet. It's definitely something to consider that you did respond quite positively to a more active tactic, you know? Okay. Okay. Well, so for today, yeah, so for the rest of today's session, I would just like to go into your story a bit more. Obviously, we didn't cover everything in our time last week, so I want to focus on continuing to explore what is at the root of your struggle with anger. But then, just as we did last week, I do want to take a little time to further explore some strategies for handling the emotions as they come up. Does that sound okay to you? Okay, perfect. Okay. Do you want some water or anything to drink before we go on? No? Okay. Good. So, last week we just touched upon the surface of your middle school experience. I believe you said that it was quite scarring, to use your exact words, right? Mm-hmm. Could you, or are you willing to talk a bit more about that? Okay. Yeah, just start anywhere you feel like starting, just what comes to mind. Okay. Mm-hmm. And how often would you say that would happen? Okay. Yeah. Okay. And how long did it go on for? Right. So, well, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. You know, even after all these years of doing this, it still just baffles me how people and how children can be so cruel. So, what was your usual response when this was happening? Well, just like your response outwardly in actions, but also within yourself, what were your thoughts, your feelings, how did you experience all of this, and how did you respond? Okay. Yeah, I think that's perfectly understandable. That's definitely not something that you should come down on yourself for. Not at all. Now, did you seek help from other people, either at school or at home, maybe? Okay. And what was the effect of that? Okay. Right. So that resulted in the nature of the bullying changing, but it didn't stop. It just got harder to see, and yeah, that's a typical way of responding. Okay. And did you at some point seek help again, reach out to anyone again, or? Okay. No. No, I understand. You may have been feeling disappointed or unheard. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned that it ended when you changed schools to continue on to high school. Could you tell me a bit more about your experience there? Yeah. And why do you think that was? Just you must have your theories about what changed and okay. Okay. And may I ask what exactly you feel like you changed or was different about you? Okay. And, well, so you changed schools and locations, but I'm sure that there were people that stayed the same, like your family, maybe some friends that you had outside of school in the neighborhood. Did they notice this change in you, and what was their reaction? Okay. Okay. So, basically, looking back on high school, you don't exactly see it as a positive experience, but to you, it was a huge improvement. Am I right in? Okay. But as you're talking about it, it seems to me that you account much of that to a change in your own behavior. Am I correct in thinking that? Okay. Right. Well, I do think that it's important to note here that being the victim of bullying does not occur through any fault of your own. You did not make yourself a target or in any way facilitated the circumstances for it to happen. You just cannot place the responsibility for any of that with yourself, because I feel the way that you have attributed the responsibility, maybe even the blame, and especially, the eventual solution, so to speak. I can really hear in your thinking that you feel that if you had only been a certain way, or if you had only reacted differently, you could have put a stop to it sooner. But there's honestly just no predicting in what could have happened if you did this. It could have very well just escalated and gotten completely out of hand. So I think it's really important that I mention that there is no responsibility with you in what happened to you in middle school. And you may have regrets about that situation, or you may wonder, have certain what ifs, and that's fine, and we can definitely talk through those. But I just think it's very important that you reframe that idea that you have in your mind, that in high school you were not bullied because you were somehow unbullyable, if you know what I'm trying to say. Well, what do you think when I say that? Okay. Okay. Fair enough, but do you feel like you're being fair to yourself there, though? You know, think of how young you were. Think of the young kid you were. Is it reasonable to place all of that on this teenager, this child? Well, okay. Well, that may just be something to take with you, to give some more thought, you know, something to think about a little more, and we're definitely going to come back to that in a next session, okay? So when would you say that this new tough persona that you cultivated started becoming a problem? Okay. Okay. And how old were you at that point? Okay. Right. So that's when, okay, so that's when you'd say that it became a problem for you more than it was a problem for other people in around you. Okay. Okay, so is it fair to say that though it didn't do you many favors in high school, it didn't start being a real problem for you until you wanted to start forming meaningful relationships in your personal life? Okay. Okay. Well, I think we uncovered a lot in our session today. We have a lot to go on next time. But before I let you go, I just wanted to talk about some coping strategies for a bit. Is it all right if I move on to that now, or is there anything that you want to say first? Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. So, a very important step in learning to manage your anger is to become adept at recognizing your own triggers and your tells. So, by triggers, I mean the things, the people, or the situations that make you lose yourself in that feeling of anger. Okay, so, and by tells, I mean the thoughts, the emotional responses, the physical sensations that mean that you have crossed over into a state of rage into a state that you feel like you're not fully in control anymore. Okay, so that's what I mean by triggers and tells, and we really need to get an idea of those to start managing your anger. And I'm sure you already have some ideas of what your triggers are, but it's equally important to really get a good grasp on what your tells are, especially your early tells, because then we can really start, identifying the behavior and changing it as early on in the process as we possibly can. Okay, so for next week, your homework is to start keeping notes. Okay, so you seem like quite a self-aware individual. So, I'm pretty sure that you already have pretty good grasp on this, on both your triggers and some of your tells, but I want to get really specific. Okay, so I really want to find the exact moments that set you off, that really push you over from just irritation or frustration into that feeling of uncontrollable anger, right? So I really want you to get as specific and as detailed as you can. Like, I'm going to give a really stupid example, but for example, your trigger could be waiting in line for too long, that's something that makes you really angry if the cashier or customer service worker is too slow or anything like that. So, but I don't just want you to come back with, well, my trigger is waiting in line. I want to know, like, what exactly sets you off. Like, what is the moment that you just go from, this is annoying, I want to get out of here, to, well, the reason you're here. Okay? Now, this early in the game, it's not plausible to expect you to sit down and take some notes in the middle of your rage, but just try to do so as quickly as possible. So, when you feel like you've regained control or you've calmed down, just, try to get some things down on paper. But if that's difficult for you, maybe try to just take out a certain moment of the day to think back at, to look back at the moments of that day and just write some things down. So, we're just trying to get a start. I really don't expect you to come back next week and have this all figured out. But I just want to start building that habit of recognizing these triggers and tells. Okay? Right? Okay. Yeah, I understand. Okay. Well, it's supposed to be a little bit of a challenge. This is not going to go easy. this is gonna take a lot of work, and this is how we get started. Okay. So to help you try to get a grip on the situation as quickly as possible, you know, so that you could then potentially take some notes, I want you to try another specific strategy. Okay. So since it really is important that we work on getting control of your breathing, I'm going to recommend that next week you try combining, you know, redirecting your anger through exercise and movement with focused breathing. So instead of having you sit and breathe and, you know, almost meditate, we're going to try a different approach and combine the movement with the breathing. Okay, so that way you're not required to sit completely still, just focus solely on your breathing, which you found was not helpful at this point. Okay, so I actually have another app for that, and I'm gonna write it down for you. So it features a well-known type of exercise that combines the two. And no, it's not yoga. Okay, so just check it out, give it a try. This lists the name of the app and the features that you need are freely available. Yeah, just that's all I ask. Give it a chance, like last week. Just give it a try. If, however, you find that it's not working, it's not helpful for you at all, just drop the breathing again. Stop it for now and just get moving in whichever way you want to, in whichever way that you find works. Okay? Okay. But don't forget to take note of your triggers and tells as soon as you're able to think calmly again. Okay? So, a next appointment for next week. Does this time and day still work for you next week? Okay. I'm going to take note of that. Do you want me to put it on a card or? Okay. Good. Okay. Well, then I thank you for coming. Thank you for being so forthcoming again. Really, I just want you to give yourself credit for the steps that you're already taking. It's really not something to take for granted. Okay, so we're really taking strides here, and that's so important. So thank you, and I will see you next week. Okay? Okay, great.